to start out, I do want to, I want to clarify, like, I'm not an expert in AI, but what I will say is about a year or so ago, this technology started popping up obviously a little bit more, and I would say that I was not comfortable with it. I felt like it was, with the little that I knew, I felt like it was cheating or so, not comfortable. So, but I had attended a couple conferences for United Way where we had conversations about it, and it kind of opened me up to experimenting a little bit. But again, I'm not an expert, but I at least feel like I'm able to understand or leverage it a little bit with what I do. And so I'm hoping that this presentation, which I want it to be more conversation, like please jump in. You guys are like, share your concerns, your experiences, whatever it is. This is for you guys. I don't want you to, I don't want to just talk and bore you all the way through. So please jump in. But I thought we'd start with everybody, if we could just take a couple minutes, introduce yourself, your title and organization, and what you're hoping to get out of the presentation today. So I'm Amy. I'm with the Oshkosh United Way. I also am the chairperson for the GoVal group in our area, which I believe most of you are familiar with and have attended a meeting. So, and my hope is that if you aren't experienced with AI, that this presentation will give you some comfort in experimenting and giving it a try. So that's my goal today. So I'm going to pass it on to Anise.
Hi, my name is Anise. I'm from Christine Ann Domestic Abuse Services. I'm the Community Outreach and Volunteer Specialist. And I'm here to join the conversation on AI and I guess share some of the policies that we have around it at our workplace, as we use it quite a bit. So
Wonderful. Christy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Christy Judd. I am a community volunteer. I also do a little bit of work with Redirect, which is an organization that brings training and grant dollars to nonprofit organizations around how to bring employees and volunteers to your organization at their very best. I've just started to explore AI a little more. My very first session was at the conference last year with Wisconsin Volunteer Coordinators Association, and I think it's fascinating. More recently, I've been helping my nephew, who is attending college, take a composition writing course at ASU, and it was completely embedded within this course. Good, bad, ugly, how to use it, when not to use it, how to analyze resources. So I'm at that curious stage and so happy, Amy, that you're doing this today.
Thank you. Bradley, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Brett from Volunteer Fox Cities. I'm the Community Engagement Director. We use AI to, we're kind of at that stage where we're kind of just using it to refine things, marketing materials, language, stuff like that, but always looking for different ways to explore how to use AI a little more.
Wonderful. John?
I'm John Neiman with Oshkosh COTS, a transitional housing program here in Oshkosh, celebrating 2.5 years here in Oshkosh. I'm interested by this, and I just wanted to gather more information so I wouldn't have to call my kids like I do with remote control and my phone.
I can appreciate that. Kate, would you like to go next?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Cern. I'm the Executive Director of the Resolution Center. So we help people resolve their conflicts through mediation. And I'm mostly hoping today to just get a little more comfortable and a little more familiar with this so I actually turn to it when it would be applicable. Amy has shown me through the Volunteer Oshkosh page, like this is very helpful. And I like how you said, Amy, it originally feels like cheating, but then as you use it, you understand how it's not when you make it your own and you keep reiterating it. So I think it's just deepening those feelings and that understanding today that I'm hoping for.
Wonderful. Thank you. Heidi, would you like to go next?
Sure. So, Heidi Thomas, I am Community Impact Manager with Oshkosh Area United Way. So I work with Amy. I joined one because I wanted to hear Amy's presentation, but also prior to joining United Way, just back in February, I had been with Accenture for 10 years, and it's a gigantic company that you've probably never heard of, though they have started playing ads. I don't know why on football Sundays. But I'm interested to hear the commentary in this discussion because Accenture was one of the companies that had been on the forefront of AI. So I've been exposed to this for many, many, many years and understand the application of it in different spaces, but want to hear how it's relevant to all of you and what kinds of questions you have and how we can best support our agencies. And I just have to say quickly, John, my mother-in-law has staked out my son's route home from school in order to get help with her iPad. So once you start doing that, then you're really in trouble.
Oh, gosh. I'll have to remember that.
Didn't come from me.
Thanks, Heidi. Carrie, do you want to go next?
Sure. I actually took just a brief course at the Tech Center over on Wixel for AI. My director suggested it. And by the way, I'm Carrie Check. I am with AdvoCap RSVP program. I'm the program assistant, and I coordinate the transportation program. So he got me to go, and it was really, like you said, it's a little bit scary, but I'm here to find out a little bit more. I know Brian uses it sometimes for some presentation stuff, for grants, and I just recently used it. I have a driver meeting today / Christmas party. We're going to make it fun. So I actually used it to come up with a bunch of trivia questions and answers. And so I included, Wisconsin motorist handbook stuff like roundabouts, school bus, those kinds of things, but also did some Wisconsin trivia and some fun Christmas facts and songs questions. And it's really good. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So who's here to learn more?
Great. Well, thank you, Carrie. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Give me a second. Okay, are you guys able to see this okay? The presentation? You got it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And again, you guys jump in at any time. So again, welcome to the presentation. And my hope is that not only will this empower you in your role in the nonprofit and as a volunteer leader, but also utilizing it for personal reasons. So thanks again for joining. So I'm also curious, some of you have mentioned that you are using, what types of tools are you already using? Does anybody want to jump in?
ChatGPT mainly.
Okay. I would say the same for me as well.
And same for me
Um,
as well.
Okay. So just so you know, according to a recent Google survey, over half of the nonprofits um, that were surveyed are using AI. So this definitely is something that nonprofits are looking to do, but I think it was like 78% haven't gotten formal training in it yet. So it's just a matter of time before I think and I equate it to social media from a marketing perspective. When social media came on board, and I think people were apprehensive or leery, it obviously it's something we can't live without now, and I think AI is obviously going to be something similar. So I also wanted to just, yep.
Sorry, Amy, I just wanted to mention, I think Chat GPT is the one that I feel we're all most familiar with actively pursuing to use. And I think you're going to get into this in your presentation. So I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but I think that there's a lot of underlying AI that we're probably all using, even, with like volunteer Oshkosh, that we don't even realize that we're
Yep.
using.
That
So,
was honestly the next thing I was
Oh,
going to say, that I
sorry.
think you're going to be surprised at how much AI is already being used in your everyday life without you probably even realizing it. So just a general overview of AI, artificial intelligence. AI is a branch of computer science that creates systems to perform tasks requiring human-like intelligence. But then there's generative AI, a type of AI focusing on producing new content like text and images, etc.
Amy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There's a pop-up window on the screen. Does anybody else see that?
Is for your patience
good.
there. Okay. So some of the things that we'll be reviewing are key benefits of AI for the nonprofit sector. So AI helps nonprofits save time, improve communication, personalize engagement, make data-driven decisions. These tools enable organizations to work more efficiently, maximize their impact, and better serve their communities, which is obviously what we're all about. And then we will, again, the goal today, the objectives today is to make sure that you guys, we're going to review some of the practical AI strategies, ethical best practices, and hopes that you get more confidence and more comfortable with using AI, both professionally and personally. So types of AI, generative AI, which I talked about a little bit earlier, and things that I'm sure you are familiar with include text generation, like Chat GPT, which helps draft emails, grant proposals, newsletters, and social media content, and so much more. This is a very high level. And if there's ever anything within this presentation that you guys would like to dive into more, let me know. We can work on that. I can find some other actual AI experts that could even present on certain subjects. So just keep that in mind. So image creation. Has anybody heard of DALL-E? That's kind of new in the last year or so, at least since I've heard about it, where you can actually enter prompts and create artwork and images. But then Canva, has everybody heard of Canva? I don't know how many people use Canva. That's another, I've used it, not always successfully. I've asked it to create images for our holiday race. I needed a specific image of a family running through snow, and it generated a picture that was fantastic, but the faces looked like a horror movie. So I actually had to go in and like get creative and take other people's faces and pose them over other people's these horrific faces it generated. So again, it doesn't always work successfully. You just have to figure out how to adapt to it. I think luckily because of my design skills, I was able to still use the image with some work. But you would also hope, again, this is supposed to make it more efficient. It should, the faces shouldn't have looked like that. It would have been a perfect picture otherwise. So that's just a real life example. Video and audio creation. There are so many tools for so many different AI tools for the purpose that you're trying to do. Including like code generation, and chatbots. And so again, if you have a specific purpose, you can go out on Google and say AI tool for video creation or AI tool for image creation. You'll be probably overwhelmed with the amount of options there are. Some are free, some have like a monthly fee. But again, there's a tool for everything now. So I recommend you guys taking time after this to use Google and look at all the different options. But I will share some of the different tools that are probably more common throughout the presentation. So then a couple examples I wanted to show you was, so for example, with the chatbots, I actually could in Facebook create an automatic reply when somebody messages us in Facebook. So you can do an instant reply while I'm away, frequently asked questions. This is to make your life easier because you don't want to be tied to your phone all the time. And so, for example, for our response in our Facebook and Instagram, I put in there, if you're reaching out to us for any type of resources, you can reach out to 211, United Way 211. If you're looking for additional information, you can call us. That doesn't mean I'm not going to respond. I had somebody yesterday message me asking for the map for our upcoming race this weekend. So I did respond to her. But if I wasn't available right then and there, at least they weren't left wondering if anybody was going to respond. They had options. And you can see here how I entered that information. So again, this just makes communication to the people we serve more efficient and custom. So then I was going to talk about the key applications for AI in our world. So volunteer management, fundraising and grants, data analysis and reporting, and service delivery. And I am going to, there's a lot of crossover within these areas. So some of the topics and tools you will hear more than once. So for, oh, sorry. We already talked about that. Okay. So volunteer management, AI helps by automating scheduling, sending reminders, matching volunteers to roles based on skills, personalized communications, and analyze data to improve retention and measure impact. So in our roles, automating scheduling and reminders, tools like AI-powered calendars and emails systems automatically schedule shifts and send reminders, reducing manual coordination. So I had give me 1 second. I got a little flustered when my presentation went a little berserk there. So, okay. So volunteer Oshkosh platform, for example, analyzes volunteer availability and sends personalized notifications and reminders based on individual schedules and preferences to minimize coordinating efforts for managers. So I don't know if you guys have, since you guys have your own personal accounts on Volunteer Oshkosh, I don't know if you've noticed some of the emails that come through that notify you of opportunities that are available. So those are some of the ways that Galaxy Digital or our Get Connected software supports our volunteer needs. Sign Up Genius also uses AI that allows volunteers to sign up for shifts and send automated emails and text reminders. Google Calendar, with AI features, automatically schedules volunteer shifts based on availability and sends reminders. It also suggests optimal meeting times based on participant schedules. Zapier, which I've not really heard of until I was doing some research for this. Zapier integration connects apps like Google Sheets, MailChimp, or Slack to automate scheduling and send personalized reminders. So those are some of the tools that are out there, not all of them, but some of the tools that are out there that help with the scheduling and reminders. Any questions so far, or any personal experience with? I'm telling you, I'm really second thinking the whole Canva presentation experience. But okay, so other things that AI helps in our role is matching volunteers to roles. Volunteer Oshkosh matches volunteer roles based on their skills and prior experiences, providing nonprofits with better fits for specific needs. Volunteer Match, which some of you may have heard of, uses AI to connect volunteers with opportunities based on their skills and interests and location, ensuring better alignment with nonprofit needs. Personalizing communications. This is a big one and will come up throughout the presentation in different ways. So email platforms like Constant Contact and MailChimp use AI features. Constant Contact uses AI to segment a volunteer list and deliver personalized messages based on interest and past involvement and event attendance. And then MailChimp with AI features analyzes volunteer behavior and preferences to create tailored email campaigns, such as thank you notes, invitations, and role-specific updates. And then ChatGPT and Jasper can draft customized email templates or thank you messages for individual volunteers or groups to ensure a personal touch. And then analyzing data. This is a topic that I personally have not done it yet, but I'm looking forward to testing this in the future and figuring out how this can help me in my role or help our organization. But Google Analytics, and I do have experience with Google Analytics, but Google Analytics with AI Insight tracks website traffic and volunteer engagement metrics to provide data-driven insights about campaigns and volunteer portals. And then SurveyMonkey with AI analysis uses AI to analyze volunteer feedback surveys, identifying trends and areas of improvement. And I do have some more examples of analyzing surveys in a little bit. So, and then chatbots for support, which I did just talk about. that can help answer common volunteer questions or common questions in real time, freeing up staff to focus on other tasks. So these may not all impact your specific role, but maybe somebody within your organization is managing social media and is managing the responses, the automatic responses on social media or on the website. But at least this gives you a sense of what's happening, or what's possible. And so hopefully this kind of allows you to have conversations with your teammates about how they're using it or how you guys can collaborate and use it together, to make sure you can achieve your goals.
Amy,
Go ahead.
I said it sounds to me like AI is being integrated already into many of the programs that we're already using.
Yes.
So it's not like we have to write the code, figure it all out. We just have to use Get Connected or Facebook or some of the social media tools that it's already embedded, and it's making it easier for us to be able to access these tools
Yes.
rather than having to sit down and figure it all out ourselves.
Yeah, and hopefully this is gonna help create some awareness of where those things are happening, so that again, some things may, like the chat bots, still need that human side of like you still have to go in and put that content in there, based off of what you're getting asked. The personalizing communications, again, you still are creating those communications, but there are tools there within the constant contact that, there's things that I'm not even taking advantage of for our organization, but because of this presentation and I'm going to start experimenting more, because the more personalized everything is, the better responses, the better the experience. And that's kind of my background, is all about creating a positive experience for your clients, your customers, your community. So this helps that. So absolutely. I mean, even when you go to Google to look something up, it's using a version of AI. So it's happening whether you necessarily know it or not. Heidi, you might even be able to give a couple examples of AI that's happening where we don't even realize maybe it's being utilized. Or have I shared some of the things that are common?
I was just going to say that I think a lot of the ones that you've already mentioned, and Christy, you kind of touched on it. A lot of it is already underlying many of the things that you're using. Some, examples that come to mind, and this is where AI gets somewhat, some people have some concerns with it, and rightfully so. I think the big thing with AI is using it responsibly, and Amy, you're going to touch on that, I know, coming up. But when you talk about things like your shopping behavior, so let's say that you're shopping on Amazon for toilet paper, don't be surprised when you get a coupon offer for toilet paper from Walgreens. That is kind of an example of where you're using it without even realizing that you're using it, but also where it can actually be really beneficial and useful when you acknowledge or know that you're using it. So things like that, like the prompts and things that will show up in your news feed. And obviously there's pros and cons both ways. But that is all AI in the background, understanding what your preferences are, understanding what articles you tend to click on, what you might be interested in. And so it feeds you more of the same, but also it looks at what other people perhaps that were reading the same types of articles, what else they clicked on, and then is able to make those suggestions to you as a consumer as well. So very similar to what you've already mentioned, and probably the things that people make comments about as it relates to AI, but does have some good benefits as long as it's being used safely.
Thank you. So the next key application is fundraising and grant opportunities. So AI can assist nonprofits to identify donor trends, predict giving behaviors, and tailor campaigns for higher impact and maximizing donor retention and contributions. So, donor data analysis and predictive modeling. This may not impact your role day to day as a volunteer manager, but it helps to understand how AI is impacting your organization outside of your role. So fundraising platforms like Gravity identifies high potential donors, and Donor Search provides predictive analytics. Salesforce, which I think a lot of people have heard of, Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud with Einstein AI creates personalized donor journeys and engagement strategies. So you may not be using some of this. Maybe there's somebody within your organization that's already doing it. But just being aware that these options are out there is helpful, and hopefully conversations can be had and collaboration can start, just being aware of these things. Personalized campaigns, which is a common theme throughout this presentation, and because it's so important to create that personal message. It makes the donor or volunteer feel like they're not just a number. They're not, it just makes it way more engaging. But AI generated email campaigns address donors by name, reference past contributions, and suggest specific donation tiers. Donor retention and stewardship. AI identifies lapsed donors and recommends tailored re-engagement strategies. And this also impacts volunteers as well. So for donor retention, CRM systems like Bloomerang and Every Action can analyze trends, suggest personalized follow-ups, and automate thank you emails, in addition to a lot of the other tools that have already been mentioned. Grant writing assistance. I don't know if anybody has used AI yet to help them with their grant writing, but nonprofits can use AI to create the first drafts of grant applications, saving time while maintaining a professional tone. So ChatGPT or Jasper AI assist in drafting compelling grant proposals or donor appeals.
Amy, I do use that a lot
Okay.
for grant writing, actually.
Sure. Awesome.
It kind of helps you write things a lot more concisely. Again, you have to put in all the information,
Sure.
and you're not just going to have ChatGPT write the grant for you, but it really can help you refine what you're writing.
Sure. And thank you for sharing that. I know a couple of my coworkers have used it in different ways to help with their grant writing as well. And I know that we've had some nonprofits who have filled out our grant form using AI as well. So It's becoming more common. But again, like you said, Pam, there's the human aspect of it that you'll never, and I probably haven't said it enough yet, but I need to keep saying this every slide. Like, there's so much of the human aspect to all of this. The human side will not be replaced in that you can use AI to make things more efficient, but you still have to check things, and we'll talk about that more as we go.
Just
With
on that same note, I think
Mhm.
the way I always think of it is AI is it's learned behaviors, and those behaviors that it learns come from us. So
Mhm.
one, like you said, it's only as good as the information that goes into it, but two, the underlying dependency is on what people have what people have done. So and what they will continue to do. So
Mhm.
the grant writing piece is actually a huge reason why we've created policy within our workbook, because we deal with very sensitive information of domestic abuse in clients. So what you share with that AI then goes into its learning processor, and it's not shared specifically like Christine Ann's services, blah, 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 but it is then learned. And then when other people put it in for grant writing, it uses that knowledge of possible statistics and names. So just being careful with what it is that you share.
Yeah.
It's very
Yep.
important.
Thank you for that. We'll talk about that a little bit towards the end here about the ethical side, and so thank you for bringing that up. And then campaign performance analysis. AI tracks real-time fundraising metrics to refine strategies and maximize returns. So an example of an AI tool for this is Tableau, that can visualize trends and identify areas of success or needed improvement, is one example of many. I actually used Tableau in my past life, and it was, from a marketing perspective, was incredibly helpful in for us to create strategies and plans as far as who we were communicating to, why we were communicating to them. But any kind of dashboard and metrics to help you can sit and analyze that, but AI can also assist, but you still have to check things and make sure they're accurate. So it's just another option to make life a little easier. So I wanted to show an example of, so in Constant Contact, I can personalize a subject matter, and you can't see this right now. I couldn't get a screen grab of the drop-down box, but the amount of personalization available within just Constant Contact alone is impressive. And I was just thinking, from a volunteer perspective, you can even add categories. So instead of just like personalizing their first name, you could also say, you could add the information of how many years or how many hours somebody has volunteered. So you can personalize down to something very specific to them and something specific to our role as volunteer managers. So I just wanted to share an example of that. And then, oh my goodness, I have a new appreciation for PowerPoint. And then again, grants. Pam, I'm glad you shared your experience with that. I was hoping some folks today would have their own experience to share, because I do think with what we do, this is an important piece that's probably going to, if it hasn't taken off already, using it for grants is going to even become more important. So now we're going to talk about data analysis and reporting to provide insights and reports on marketing performance to help startups make informed decisions, but also just nonprofits in general. Let's see here. Oh, I did want to share a couple of the grant tools. Sorry, I'm going to go back a bit here. Grantable, Grant Orb, Grant Assistant, Grant Boost, and ChatGPT are some of the tools that I found out about when I was doing research for the grant section. So, okay. So, data analysis and reporting. So tracking volunteer contributions. AI tools automatically collect and analyze data on hours served, roles completed, and participation rates. So Galaxy Digital, for example, which is where our volunteer Oshkosh is housed, or Better Impact, generate detailed reports on volunteer activities, allowing leaders to recognize achievements and allocate resources effectively. So not that everybody uses the volunteer Oshkosh to track hours, but you could if you don't already have a process to track hours. You could have your volunteers who come through Volunteer Oshkosh actually track their hours. You are, as a manager, able to approve those hours. But again, those are some ways to help you and recognize achievements for your volunteers. I just wanted to give that as an example that is already existing. Measuring program impact. AI identifies trends and patterns in volunteer activities, linking efforts to organizational outcomes. So platforms like Salesforce uses AI to correlate volunteer contributions with community impact metrics, like the number of clients served or events successfully executed. Volunteer Oshkosh leverages advanced data analysis and automated reporting to provide insights. So I have access to so many different reports within Volunteer Oshkosh, and I try to once or twice, at least once a year, but twice a year, if I can, give you some of those insights based off of what Volunteer Oshkosh reports out, so that you guys can then use some of that data to figure out what's working, what's not working. Why are we getting this many responses, but I can't, maybe they're just not going through the whole onboarding process. So what's happening? So we're able to look at some of that information already. Volunteer feedback analysis. AI processes survey responses and feedback forms to identify key themes and actionable insights. I'm curious if anybody has gone through this process with an AI tool to analyze any survey responses. Has anybody? Okay. I do have an example coming up for that. So automating administrative reporting. AI simplifies the creation of required reports for stakeholders, grant applications, and board presentations. So tools like QuickBook Advanced Reporting or Microsoft Power Automate integrate with volunteer data systems to generate pre-formatted detailed reports. So again, here's a couple more tools to be aware of that could potentially help you in your role as a volunteer leader. And then grant and stakeholder reporting. So AI streams the process of compiling data for impact reports, making it easier to demonstrate the value of volunteer programs to funders. So generative AI like ChatGPT can draft narrative sections of reports while tools like Google Sheets with AI integrations consolidate quantitative data. So I did want to mention, I created a resource page for everybody on Volunteer Oshkosh, and I just wanted to show how just even within Volunteer Oshkosh, they're pulling data in real time so that you guys can see things like what types of volunteer opportunities are getting views. So for example, health and medical, hunger, administrative, fundraiser and event. These are kind of the top opportunities that are being viewed. And then the responses, how many responses for each area. So administrative is getting the most responses. So now you can hopefully see this information and see how this impacts you. Are there things that you're maybe not taking advantage of? So maybe you haven't taken advantage of, are there some administrative responsibilities that you could very easily use a volunteer for because there's interest in it, and that would free you up to do some other things. So hopefully looking at this information and finding trends can help you make decisions within your organization or within your role to give you back some of your time by finding somebody who's actually interested in doing some of these volunteer opportunities. So service delivery. AI enhances service delivery for volunteer leaders by streamlining processes, anticipating community needs, and enabling timely, effective responses to both volunteers and the communities they serve. So personalize the volunteer experience. We've heard the word personalize a lot throughout this survey or through this presentation. But again, making the experience more personal helps with retention, making that person, the donor or volunteer, feel more special, so that they give more time and or money. But AI tailors interactions and opportunities for volunteers, making them feel valued and increasing their motivation. And again, I know we've talked about the human side of using AI, and we've commented like how I felt like I was cheating, but I at least have some writing experience. Not everyone feels like a writer, so hopefully leveraging ChatGPT to craft personalized role descriptions based on volunteer skills, interest, and past involvement, or to create custom thank yous, generate re-engagement messages, training recommendations, or to ask to draft feedback request emails that feel personal and engaging. I hope that if you're not using ChatGPT or AI now, that at least maybe that's something you'll experiment with after we talk about this.
Amy, can I just chime in real quick and say
Yep.
that, like, for me, this is where I use it a lot, because the personalization, especially with words are hard this morning. Chat GPT helps a ton, especially when I'm trying to write for or work with a demographic that's not mine.
Mhm.
I'm a middle-aged white male, so if I'm trying to reach to a different generation, maybe a younger or an older or a different gender population, whatever. ChatGPT is great at kind of pointing out things that can speak to that for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll talk a little bit about that too in the next couple of slides, about that, even just the generation, like you mentioned, it's very helpful. Anticipating community needs. So AI analyzes community data to anticipate areas of high demand and proactively deploy volunteer or other resources, funding, what have you. So I was going to use an example today. So I don't know how many of you have heard of the Fox Valley Data Exchange. It just launched in the last couple months. It's been in the works for a while. And they've created, this nonprofit has been created so that there's one central go-to for community data in the Fox Valley area. And so they use Metopio. I'm not even going to say this correctly. It's Metopio. So that's who they're working with for their website. And I can share the link if you're not familiar with it, I'll share the link in my email, but you're able to go out there and play around with the different types of data. And it's coming from, the information's coming from all types of places. They're even using our 211 United Way 211 information as some data in the system. But they have so here's a couple examples of how they've used AI. So the data exchange used AI to analyze the data from the Fox Valley Wellbeing Survey. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with that survey. But with the help of the AI team from Thrivent, they were able to look at the responses from the survey and the human responses, and they found that they were slightly different than the data that they had in the system. And so that is allowing them to have conversations about, where are the gaps, where is there more information or data they need to be finding, because not everything was matching up with the human responses. And I'm oversimplifying that, but it's just another example of not only them using it, but they also used humans from Thrivent who are AI experts to review that information. So then they also use Microsoft BI to look at trends in their demographic data, and the results that came out were as they expected, but they used somebody from Lawrence University to go through the information to make sure it was accurate and that the test showed that the analysis was working correctly. So when I was talking to him about this, I said, so even though you needed to have the human go through and make sure it was working accurately, why not just have the human do it? He says it still took less time to use the AI, the Microsoft BI to analyze everything and him to just do a few tests to make sure it was accurate than if they would have had hired people to actually do the work completely. So they're also using Microsoft Copilot to help take notes for their meetings to identify action items and responsibilities. And a person still does have to review the notes to make sure they're accurate afterwards, and then to communicate out to make sure everybody is aware and doing what they said that they were going to be responsible for. So supporting multilingual communication, AI-powered translation tools are available. DeepL Translator features high-quality translations with a focus on nuanced language and context for major global languages, and it's free for basic use, or you can pay for advanced features. Google translates over 100 languages and is free. So there's some options out there for translation, but I would still find maybe some human resources to just make sure those are still accurate. Multi-generation communication, which Brad, thankfully you brought up, can adapt messages styles to resonate with different generations or genders, as you also mentioned, for concise text for younger volunteers. or emails for older ones. And then training and development, AI creates adaptive training materials that cater to volunteers' learning styles and technological comfort levels. ChatGPT is excellent at helping create some of these training options. Canva with Magic Write can also help. And these are all cost-effective, user-friendly, and support text, video, or interactive training opportunities. I was going to show some examples of data exchange, but again, I'll send you I'll send you a link to their website. And ChatGPT, again, if you can experiment with that on your own, if you are in need of training materials, or if that's something we want to dive into as a subject in the future, let me know. So integrating AI in volunteer management, best practices. Start small and evaluate tools regularly. Gather volunteer feedback and involve team in the process. Incorporate sanity checking and testing to make sure that what you're doing makes sense. And commit to continuous learning about AI advancements. So there are so many AI resources online. This is an example of a roadmap to incorporate AI into your role or your organization. But before integrating AI into your work, start by defining your goals and laying out a strong foundation. So understand the larger context, align your roadmap with your vision, mission, strategy, and broader problem space. And this context sets the direction for AI-driven planning. Identify constraints, recognize limitations like time, resources, and regulations to ensure realistic goals and timelines. And then define what success looks like for you. Establish clear goals such as growth, volunteer, and/or donor engagement and retention to measure the roadmap's impact. And again, like I said, there are so many tools online just to guide you through. There's a lot of opinions, so do what works best for you and your organization. So ethical use of AI in volunteer management, why ethical AI matters: to build trust with volunteers and stakeholders, ensure fairness and avoids unattended harm, and protect sensitive data and privacy, which Anise had mentioned as well. So here are some key ethical principles. Privacy and data security, safeguard volunteer data or donor data or client data. Be transparent about how data is collected and used. Transparency, clearly communicate when and where AI is used in volunteer interactions, and share decision-making processes enabled by AI tools. Fairness and inclusion, monitor for biases in AI algorithms that could affect volunteer opportunities or other organization opportunities. Ensure AI recommendations are equitable and inclusive. Accountability, regularly review AI tools for ethical compliance. Establish policies to provide framework that defines how the organization will use it. And we've said this many times, have human oversight to address AI errors and concerns. Can't emphasize that one enough. So then I wanted to ask you guys, I'm going to go back to that one. How can you guys as nonprofits assure AI tools are inclusive and fair when using this in your roles? Does anybody have any thoughts or experiences that they'd like to share? Okay. And I know we're getting down on time, so I'm just going to go on to non-work uses for AI. Creative and personal uses could include things like plan gardens, plan workouts, plan meals, navigation and travel planning, which I've actually used that for that. It's already being used for fall and crash detection, voice assistants, which is Siri and Alexa. You can appeal insurance denials, write Excel formulas, make music playlists, and organize personal tasks. And I don't know if any of you guys are using any of these already, but I just am curious, what's one personal way you've used AI, if anybody would be willing to share?
Amy, I've done meal plans.
Oh, you have?
Mhm.
How have you used that? Have you?
I actually did it in Chat GPT,
Mhm.
and I put in foods I absolutely hate, so don't include them. I put in diet restrictions because I'm diabetic,
Okay.
and I asked it to plan breakfast for a week, and
Okay.
it did quite easily and quite quickly. I
Wonderful.
also have done like the devil's advocate thing,
Mhm.
you know, had it come up with arguments for things. And actually, the appeal of the insurance denial, I'm going to mention that to a friend of mine because she's having a lot of problems with insurance.
Okay.
And so I think it might be helpful to her.
Yeah. That was one that I hadn't thought of. So when I was researching, I thought, wow, there's a lot of people that could probably use that one. Does anybody else have any examples of how they're using it personally?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Like Pam, we do for meals, we do AI Fridays at our house. So every Friday that we're eating at home, we have AI come up with our meal. But we plan most of our vacations with AI, run them through Chat GPT. We have our basic schedule and have it pick out stuff. Typically we'll ask it for like the off the beaten path type stuff.
Mhm.
So not necessarily the regular touristy stuff, but things that our family would enjoy. We put all our ages and hobbies in there and it finds good
Mhm.
stuff for us.
Yeah, I always ask it to, what do I not want to miss when I go to this area? And it's really good about highlighting some of the things that may not have come up when you were doing your research. So yeah. So I guess that was the presentation. It was very high level. It was hopefully to show you where it's already being utilized and you probably don't even know it. Um, and then hopefully to make you more comfortable in trying some of these tools. Um, does anybody have any questions or comments or feedback, or was this helpful?
Well, I would just say, Amy, this has been amazing. I don't think from a high level, I think you hit all of the different points, and I've taken a couple of pages of notes for how I'm going to use it, not only in my work, but also personally, including, planning a birthday dinner that's coming up very soon. So
Okay.
I think this was really helpful. I think the more I think about using it and opportunities and what I read, kind of gives me a good balance of excitement and fear,
Mhm.
So thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
this today.
Again, like I said, I'm not an expert, but I at least wanted to get the conversation going in hopes that it makes a couple more people comfortable in experimenting. So I appreciate your time. And I did want to, my last slide does, I do say it was presented by me, but it was with the assistance of Chat GPT. So, but um, but anyways, thank you again for your time. I'll send up follow-up information in an email tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions or want to dive into certain topics in a deeper way in the future, just let me know.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you.